Hi beautiful souls, it's Tan here today with another video in our North Node through the houses series, and today we'll be doing the very famous and requested North Node in the 8th house through the signs, briefly through the signs. So I have made an introduction video to the North Node. If you haven't watched that, I highly recommend that you check it out first to get a more comprehensive understanding of my interpretation of the North Node and what it's doing in your chart. So I will provide a link to that video up above in the description box below, so you can check that out and then come back and watch this video. And also, if you've been keeping up with the channel and you like the content that I've been putting out and you feel like you would like to support me, you can do that on a platform called coffee.com by buying me a coffee. And the support that you provide me with will go into purchasing tools and equipment that I need to use to make these YouTube videos for you guys, as well as making birth chart readings. So let's get started. As with all North Node placements, if we are not moving towards it and we're stuck in the South Node of our comfort zone, we will slowly begin to feel like our soul is decaying and there's a certain discontentment that can creep into life. However, if we do move too quickly into the sign and the house placement of our North Node, there can be a bit of an obsession and a fanaticism that comes up. So we kind of want to balance the North and South Node together, meaning that we do move towards our North Node, but we don't forget and we take with us the skills that we have gained from our South Node placements. So if you have a North Node in the 8th house, you're going to have a South Node in the 2nd house. And with this placement, the fragmentation of your soul lies in the fact that you may, out of your comfort zone, hang on to old or outdated value systems that are no longer serving your authenticity and where you're headed in life. Your soul may fall easily into a pattern of building security based on ownership of objects, people, and ideas, and ultimately value systems. This, of course, will definitely give you the assurance that you will make it and you will survive in the world materially. But of course, life is about a balancing of opposites, and external material security can never compensate for internal security. And that is the test of your life. So even though you may feel very comfortable in your periods of self-indulgences, kind of submerging your 5 senses into the experience of your physical life, you may also feel a certain discontentment with this. And over time, kind of like your soul slowly begins to decay, because you're here to integrate your soul back together again through a process of regenerating your stability and security, which requires first a metaphorical death of your outdated modes of security and stability through circumstances in life that may force you to submerge yourself fully into the value systems of other people. The 8th house is the house of transformation through the transcendence of pain. The 2nd house is the house of self-sufficiency through being able to acquire assets that are based on your values. So with a North Node in the 8th house, it might be a good idea to try and surrender to the intimate moments of life in order to discover what it is that other people value. And how can you do that? Well, this is very interesting. Well, first, you can do this by knowing that life is going to present you with some sexual experiences that may test the limits of your emotional and psychological strength. All you have to do is embrace it when it happens. Life may also present you with periods of lack, meaning that you may have to be losing some of your possessions, and this is also a test of your emotional and psychological strength. And all you have to do is embrace it. The underlying human need for sex without reproduction is a psychological one. It may be for a feeling of self-worth, to feel loved, or to feel a sense of self-esteem, or to feel worthy. But this isn't necessarily going to be gained through getting what you want in the bedroom. That's kind of superficial. It's going to be gained from these intimate experiences that really tear down your sense of self-esteem, self-worth, to cause an almost metaphorical death of your old self so that you can build a new one, be reborn. For example, if you decide to engage in some form of taboo sex, you may go to the extreme with this, because when you first get in touch with your North Node, and this can happen anytime in your life, depending on the people that you meet in your life and what else in your chart is supporting it. But the first encounter with the North Node tends to lead to a bit of an obsession. And the 8th house is the house of obsessions. So with this placement, the obsession may come in terms of taking these intimate experiences as well as joint finances and the way you share money with another person to the extreme. What can happen then when these topics are taken to the extreme is that feelings of shame, maybe guilt, fear of loss, insecurities, and possessiveness, and even hating yourself and hating your body can come up. This is the pain. And this pain may also be a result of you putting too much trust in another person when it comes to sharing your resources, meaning that you trusted someone with your finances only to find out later on that they had betrayed you. And now you may question how much you really valued money and how much you really valued yourself, if you had valued or loved yourself at all. And with a North Node in the 8th house, this can be a cyclic thing. This can sometimes make you feel like you're buried underground and you'll never come up and see the light again. But the only way to transcend this pain is to surrender to the healing process. And this can kind of mean that you may surrender to the rain that is about to come seasonally and wash away the soil that has buried you underground in a kind of mudslide so that you can emerge to the surface again and be reborn. And that is kind of a strange analogy, but I guess it works. So while you're going through this healing process and waiting for the cycles to happen, what you can really do practically in real life is to consider psychotherapy, which for North Node in the 8th house may be very appealing for you at certain times of your life. Because all ingrained darknesses really stem from childhood trauma. And a really experienced psychotherapist is going to be able to help you and guide you through those times of darkness. Psychotherapy can offer a safe healing space for you. And in somatic therapy, you're given a safe space as well to release the trauma from the actual physical body. And that is the way that you're going to heal. So what happens then is that the strength that you're forced to build during these painful times becomes the core of who you are. They become a core part of you that you learn to love and you learn to value. They become a new set of value systems for you. You value yourself and you value the power that intimacy, which leads to vulnerability, has when it comes to your personal transformation and all transformations in life. So there are a couple of things that you can do to kind of get in touch with your North Node in the 8th house. So first, when it comes to money, it would be a good idea to consider opening up your avenues of making money. So trying to make money from different avenues, because the 2nd house represents the money that comes to you kind of with more predictability and like a monthly salary. But the 8th house represents investments that you make to get profit, or loans that you take to make investments to make profit. And also joint finances with another to make profit. So starting a business is a really great place to start, to get in touch with this North Node placement. And if you have many planets in the 8th house, starting a business is also a really good idea, because you can be a master when it comes to situations that require unfathomable risk in crisis. And when you're starting something like a business, there's a lot of risk involved there. The next thing that you can do is to know that your sense of self is going to be unshakable after you've gone through the transformation process, of course. And if your sense of self is so solid, you can then allow your various sexual experiences to happen in your life in a way that can be very fulfilling for you. Sexual explorations in life can be almost endless. And the last thing that you may want to do to get in touch with this North Node is to, of course, try psychotherapy and somatic therapy, and kind of doing it with fun and joy and allowing the flow to happen when you're in these sessions. So the sign that your North Node is in the 8th house is going to show traits and characteristics that you may want to adopt in order to help with this transformation process in your life go much more smoothly and with courage to reach a very successful rebirth. So if you have an Aries North Node in the 8th house, you'll have a Libra South Node in the 2nd house, and you're really learning to dive deep and plunge with courage into all things of the 8th house. Doing it without a fear of losing face and without shame. When you unveil the darkness of your soul, you can be great in all kinds of crisis situations, as well as having a sharp, acute insight into the strategies needed in order to make money. If you have a Taurus North Node in the 8th house, you'll have a Scorpio South Node in the 2nd house. And this placement can make it extremely difficult to let go of the more obsessive situations and qualities and the addictions that are a little bit more negative that I mentioned earlier in this video, because of this fixed modality on the axis. But when you really work with it and you get to the highest level of this, you can really be a mastery when it comes to knowing what, when, and how much or how to share your resources with another, as well as what, when, and how to not share and to keep things for yourself. If you have a Gemini North Node in the 8th house, you'll have a Sagittarius South Node in the 2nd house, and you're really learning here to adopt a spontaneous, in-the-moment attitude when it comes to transformation. And kind of just submerging into information gathering, data collection, being curious, and having a variety of information and data when it comes to sex and intimacy and making money. And this is also a pretty business savvy placement as well, because Gemini rules Mercury, and Mercury is, the salesperson. So really great for that. If you have a Cancer North Node in the 8th house, you'll have a Capricorn South Node in the 2nd house. This placement makes it so that you're learning to nurture others in times of crisis until they bloom. But with Capricorn South Node in the 2nd house, you may have come from a background in which you had to tend to external situations in life and the more material side of life earlier than you really gained the maturity to do. And so that need to self-care and to self-nourish was maybe missing. And so it would be important first to incorporate an element of self-nurture and self-care before you can tend to others. If you have a Leo North Node in the 8th house, you will have an Aquarius South Node in the 2nd house. And this placement, you're really learning to bring onto center stage your transformation story or experiences. You're here to really learn to take pride in your strength as well as in your sexuality and yours, and kind of displaying that to the world. Also your wealth. And just feel, this will make you feel that life has more meaning for you. If you have a Virgo North Node in the 8th house, you're going to have a Pisces South Node in the 2nd house. With this placement, you're really learning to be more adept at handling other people's money and definitely your own personal resources as well. And this is probably one of the best signs to have a North Node in the 8th house if you were to handle other people's money, because of that Virgo organizational ability and that modesty and humbleness of the Virgo energy that can instill trust in others. So yeah, you're also learning to be humble and have humility when it comes to your own personal transformation, while you're kind of synthesizing your life experiences into the transformation process. This could also be a place to explore a bit of a kinky sexuality, you know what I mean? If other things in your chart support it, that is. If you have a Libra North Node in the 8th house, you'll have an Aries South Node in the 2nd house. With this placement, you're learning to work with others as well as take feedback from time to time with regards to your own darkness. And know that you need to have somebody there as a helping hand when you're going through times of darkness. This placement can also make you can give you mastery when it comes to being able to make contracts and negotiations that are gonna offer an amount of fairness and justice when it comes to sharing of finances and resources with other people. That makes all parties happy. If you have a Scorpio North Node in the 8th house, you'll have a Taurus South Node in the 2nd house. And yes, I'm making a face here because this is a double Scorpio energy in the 8th house here. So you're definitely going to go with the transformation process with your instinct, with a sense that something special is going to come out of it, even though you may not be able to put into words what that is. But at the end of the day, you may want to question what it is that you're really transforming into, because when we go through process of deconditioning, working through our traumas, we're actually deconditioning ourselves. But this deconditioning process actually just the ultimate goal may be just to get us closer to our true selves, and that is our rebirth. It's a rebirth into the core of who you are and your true self. And if you're really working with this North Node, you'll find that you have both the material assets that you need to survive in the world, as well as the other kind of survival, the more emotional and psychological survival as well. And, magic and the occult and maybe witchcraft, which you may sometimes feel it is unnecessary, you may still not be able to stray away from it. With a Sagittarius North Node in the 8th house, you have a Gemini South Node in the 2nd house. You're learning to adopt a more seeker-like and a philosophical attitude to your transformation process. You may even consider writing, teaching, publishing, or speaking about your transformational process, but also about the occult, finances, or psychology. But ultimately, it's based on your story. And the process of self-discovery for you can be endless. But at the end of the day, it's not about the end result for you, but it's about sharing of what's happening in the moment on this journey. If you have a Capricorn North Node in the 8th house, you will have a Cancer South Node in the 2nd house. And this placement can make it so that for maybe a large part of your life or a period of your life, there's great resistance to sexual depth, shadow work, and making long-term investments, like starting a business, until you ripen, mature, and you go for it. because the control that you have over these things in your life is just too unsettling, uncomfortable to bear anymore. With this placement, there may also be some undealt with issues with the father or the fathering figure while you were growing up in terms of affections, and specifically physical displays of affection and caretaking. So it may be a good idea to find a resolve for these issues, maybe reconnecting with the father figure, or seeing a psychotherapist about it, because these experiences would have instilled within you a certain amount of unconscious, again, control of your life that you may not even be aware that you are doing. But ultimately, it's going to allow you to finally surrender to life. And if you do start a business, you're definitely a powerhouse. And within a business that you decide to start, you can be somebody who has control, the right kind of control and power in that area of life. If you have an Aquarius North Node in the 8th house, you will have a Leo South Node in the 2nd house. And with this placement, you're learning how to bring into consciousness your own psychology, as well as the psychology of the collective. You can be a mastery when it comes to perspectives, having different perspectives and a larger perspective and an insightful perspective into emotions. You can be somebody who can kind of remove the emotions from the emotions when you need to. And that's actually consciousness, to know that you are not your emotions, to see your emotions from another place. That's how you know that you're not sad, because you can say to yourself, I am sad, so you can't be it if you can see yourself saying that you're sad or angry or anything. So having this skill is definitely very useful when trying to get through certain emotional turmoils. And last but not least, if you have a Pisces North Node in the 8th house, you'll have a Virgo South Node in the 2nd house. And with this placement, you're really learning to have compassion through your process of personal transformation, and not judging yourself or having a critical eye or self-doubt through all of this, but having faith in the fact that the transcendence of pain, you have to feel the pain in order to transcend it, is what's going to bring you peace. And ultimately, with peace, we garner more love for yourself and for the whole entire world. When you heal, that's only when you can give unconditional love to the world and to yourself. Love that is being given without self-healing first may be a superficial kind of love, because it's not initially coming from knowing how to love. And the first person that we can know how to love is ourselves. And that's the greatest love that you can give. And I'm saying love a lot. That's the greatest love that you can give to yourself and for the world, is healing. So that's my interpretation of North Node in the 8th house through the signs. What sign is your North Node in the 8th house in? Do comment below and let us know, and share your experiences with us. And if you like this video, then do give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. The next North Node video is going to be North Node in the 6th house. So next up is going to be North Node in the 6th house, and then it's going to be North Node in the 4th, and then the 2nd. So yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below if you haven't. If you already subscribed, then thank you very much for coming along. I do birth chart readings, synastry readings. All the information is on my website, and you can check that out. So yeah, I'll see you soon, beautiful souls. Bye.